Microsoft Foundry Quick Start. In this quick start, you will get started using models and agents in Foundry. You will generate a response from a model, create an agent with a defined prompt, have a multi-turn conversation with an agent. Prerequisites. So I think we haven't gone through this yet. So that was create resources. This is chat with an agent. Okay. Prerequisites. A model deployed in Microsoft Foundry. If you don't have a model, first complete quick start setup Microsoft Foundry resources. So first you go through that, or skip the deployment step and try an instant model preview instead. Create a project with West US 3 and substitute an instant model for GPT 5.1 mini in all the code examples in this quick start. The required language runtimes, global tools, and Visual Studio Code extensions as described in Prepare Your Development Environment. I'm not sure what they mean by that here. So the required language runtimes, global tools, and Visual Studio Code extensions. So when they mean, like when I'm asking, so when you think about prerequisites, so what you should have done, the required language runtimes, global tools, and visual as described in Prepare Your Development environments. So these are the environments that you need to have when you are trying to chat with an agent. Basically that's what Microsoft Foundry Quick Start that tells in this particular page. Set up environment variables and get the code. Store your project endpoint as an environment variable. Also set these values in your project for use in your scripts. Project endpoint, copy from the welcome screen, agent name, my agent. Follow along below or get the code. You can click the get the code, you can get the code. Sign in using the CLI login command to authenticate before running your Python script. Install and authenticate. Make sure you install the correct version of packages as shown here. Install the current version of Azure AI project. This version uses Azure Foundry projects API. Install the current version of Azure AI projects. This version uses the Foundry projects new API. So that's that. Install the current version of Azure AI projects. This version uses the Foundry projects new API. Pip install Azure AI projects 2.00. Okay, install the current version of Azure AI projects. Okay, I install the current version of Azure AI projects. This version uses Foundry projects new API. Okay, install and authenticate. So you install the Azure AI projects, which I have a 2.20. Sign in using the CLI login command to authenticate before running your Python scripts. Code uses Azure AI projects 2 version and is incompatible with Azure AI projects 1 version, which is in the classic, I guess, for Azure AI projects 1 version. Chat with the model. Interacting with the model is a basic building block of AI application. Send an input and receive a response from the model. Send an input and receive a response. That's the basic thing. So here you can see we are getting the default Azure credential from azure.identity, and we are getting the AI project client from azure.ai.projects. So as mentioned earlier, you get the project endpoint, you can store it in the, which probably store in the ERN file, then you create the project OpenAI and OpenAI clients to call Foundry. So you're creating AI project client and you're passing in the endpoint and the credential object, and you are creating a project, and that project you can call the get OpenAI client and you can get the OpenAI client. Run responses from that OpenAI client, there is a property called responses, and that responses have a create method, and that within the create method you can pass the model name and the actual prompt, which is what is the size of France in square miles. So then you print responses.output text. After running the code, you see the model generated responses in the console, for example a short poem or to answer to your prompt. This confirms your project endpoint, authentication, and model deployment are working correctly. So here you can see that your authentication is working properly and also your deployments are working properly, everything is working properly. Code uses Azure AI Projects 2 version and is incompatible with Azure AI Projects 1 version. So this incompatibility is there. If you are using earlier, you may need to consider these warnings or tips. Create an agent. Create an agent using a deployed model. An agent defines core behavior. Once created, it ensures consistent responses. Create an agent using a deployed model. An agent defines core behavior. Once created, it ensures consistent responses in user interactions without repeating instruction each time. You can update or delete agents anytime. An agent defines core behavior. Once created, it ensures consistent responses in user interaction without repeating instruction each time. You can't update or delete agents anytime. You can't update or delete agents anytime. So here you can see default Azure credential. I'm getting it from identity. Again, AI project client, you're getting from AI.projects. Prompt agent definition, you're getting from projects and the models. You're basically getting it from the models. So prompt agent definition, that is coming from the model. So you have the project endpoint, then you have the agent name. Create a project client to call Foundry API. So you're creating a AI project client using the service endpoint and the credentials. Then you're creating an agent with model and instruction. So you're accessing the projects, agents, and create version, and you're passing in the agent name and the definition. With the definition, you are actually passing in within prompt agent definition object, and you're passing in the name and the instruction, which is you are a helpful assistant that answers general question. So agent created, agent ID, agent name, and version. Agent is created using this agent. The output confirms create version. The output confirms the agent was created. So you are a helpful assistant. That's how the agent. So if you are going to create an agent with a model and instruction, so you give the agent name and then you give the agent model, what the model is using, and then you are giving the instruction of what that agent is supposed to use. So that agent is an helpful assistant that answers general question. So that is the agent. The output confirms the agent was created. For SDK, software development tabs, you see the agent name and ID printed to the console. Tip, code uses, again that warning is there. Tip, you note it down. Chat with an agent. Use the previously created agent named my agent to interact by asking a question and a related follow-up. The conversation maintain history across these interactions. So again, Azure default Azure credentials from identity, Azure project client, AI project client from Azure AI projects. Then you have the project endpoint, then you have the agent name. Then you have the agent AI project client, and then you pass in the endpoint credential and you get the project. From the project you get OpenAI client, then you get the OpenAI client, and in the OpenAI client there is something called conversations, and then you call the method create. Then you create a conversation. Create a conversation for multi-turn chat. So chat with the agent to answer this. So then the conversation is created. You then create OpenAI responses create. Then you pass the conversation ID. Then you pass the extra body, agent reference, agent name, type agent reference. Input what is the size of France in square miles and print the response. Ask a follow-up question in the same conversation. OpenAI responses.create, again the same thing. Conversation ID is there, the agent reference is there, same thing. And the question is input what is the capital city. So you ask about the square miles, then you ask about the capital city. You see the agent's response to both prompts. So first response on output, you see the agent's responses to both prompts. You follow up the response, demonstrate that the agent maintains conversation history across turns. So this is the first conversation turn, then there is the second conversation, but it maintains the conversation history. Code uses, so this question it doesn't explicitly say France. So and what is the capital city? Then it answers whatever the capital city of France, Paris, I guess. You see agent's responses to both prompts. The follow-up response demonstrates that agent maintains conversation history across. Clean up resources. If you no longer need any of the resources you created, delete the resource group associated with your project. In Azure portal, select the resource group and then delete. Confirm that you want to delete the next resource. So next step is idea to prototype, build and evaluate an enterprise agent. So that is the first step. Was this page helpful? Yes. content. I accomplished start. So information was easy to find. I learned something new. I'm actually going with learning something new. That's actually I'm not exactly understood everything, but I can do that.